All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. This is our conversation and housing concerns with the Bremerton Housing Authority and KCR. So glad that you can tune in and join us today. We have a good show, as we always do for you. The date is Wednesday, October 12th. It is 3:03 and a paltry 69 degrees in Kitsap County. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our first person, which is Katie Sharp. Let's go ahead and give her the horn and applause. How are you
Hi.
doing today?
Good. I want to make sure I was thinking about it and my sounds good, right?
You sound fantastic.
All right. I just want to make sure. Yeah, doing
All
good, Marwan. Nice to see you. And it is mid-October, I think.
already, right?
I
That's
won't
pretty.
say the rain word, but it is
Yes.
amazing what last couple of months has
Well, you said
been.
it. You said it. Well, we also have Kirsten Jewell with us. Let's give her the horn and applause. And go ahead and bring her on up. Kirsten, how are you doing today?
I'm well.
I like that. You are well. So what makes you
I
so
am
well
I
on
am
this fine
well.
day?
Yes, but many people around me are not well.
Uh-oh.
There's a lot of illness going around. I'm having lots of friends and colleagues who are out sick, so or have sick kids or something. So I am
You know what?
celebrating the fact that I am not sick today.
That you're not sick? That is a true story. There are a lot of sick people right now, so something is going around for sure, which is pretty interesting. Well, as you guys know, on the second Tuesday of the month, we do our deep dive conversation, and Kirsten joins us on Tuesdays, which is so awesome. So, what I wanted to do first is kind of get a few updates in from Bremerton Housing Authority. Matt will join us at 3:30 as he is in his Housing Solutions Center meeting right now. They moved the time, so he'll join us right after that. The first order of business, though, is the community needs assessment is still open. It got extended for Olympic College. So there is still time for you to complete the community needs assessment. The link is right here, www.kcr.org/CNA. Please go ahead and complete that. It'll take you about 20 minutes. The county, well, I guess the powers that be will definitely be looking at this assessment and your feedback and deciding on how they strategically plan into the future to serve the community. So very important, great opportunity to have your voice heard.
And Marwan, I have an update to that as well.
Yes, please.
They are currently performing focus groups for the community in addition to the survey online, and I have a flyer to share.
Oh yeah.
I want to
Right.
share my screen. Okay, so I'll zoom in here, but this is the flyer, and I can send this to you after. Also, KCR is really active on Facebook right now. If anybody's up-to-date information on Facebook, and you can communicate directly with KCR through Facebook as well. So again, I'm from Bremerton Housing Authority, but everybody is part of this community needs assessment. KCR is leading the charge, and we're excited that there's definitely over 4,000 responses, and their original target was 1,500, so it's pretty impressive. As for the focus groups, they already conducted one, which was yesterday in Spanish, but this one is the one I wanted to point out. Let's see, October 15th, which is having a focus and share information I think they have 10 questions. So just to share answers to their questions, this group setting in a live, and then you have a chance to earn a gift card, and food and childcare are provided. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah, so these are really good opportunities again to, of course, fill out the survey, but
Absolutely. So please put that on the calendars, uh, childcare and food. That is fantastic.
Yeah, so if we want to, for those who are just listening, it's October 15th at 10 a.m. at KCR at the 8th Street Building, 845 8th Street, Bremerton, Washington, conducting in English. Then there's one on October 18th at 5:30 p.m. at KCR, again at the same place, 8th Street, Bremerton, conducted in Spanish. And October 19th at 5:30 p.m. at KCR, a same building, conducted in MAM. And then November 9th at 5:30 via Zoom, actually. So it looks like they're doing a focus group over Zoom. I'm not sure if the food and childcare apply to the Zoom meeting, but there are lots of opportunities to share insights directly with KCR.
All right. And for those that are just listening, that number is 360-473-2004, or you can email Arbor. How do I say the last name?
I think it's Matuku.
Matuku at AMETUKU at KCR.org. And I will put that in the chat also. Or actually, as soon as Katie sends that to me, I will make that available so that you can have access to that. So, oh, I love that. So, not only do you do the community needs assessment, but you can come in and have a focus group and talk about it on top of it. I think that is fantastic. Great things going on here in the county for sure.
And since this is a housing conversation, there's lots of housing questions in that survey.
Yes, I love it. You know what? It would have been cool to actually go through the survey. Maybe I can still do that because I don't think I've done that. Usually I'll do
They
things
close
like that in a
on the
podcast.
23rd. It sounds like you have time.
I do have time. So yes, I may actually do that if I can fit it in. So yeah, let's try to make that happen. Well, so now that we've made that announcement, do you have any other announcements from the Bremerton Housing
I have
Authority?
one big announcement from the Bremerton Housing Authority
What?
our public housing wait lists are going to open for applications on October 25th. That's a Tuesday. And that's big news because we're using Rent Cafe again. So if you want to share that link, Marwan.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to be registered in Rent Cafe, and then you can apply for our public housing wait lists. Now I want to share there's 3 big differences to these wait lists than from before. First of all, because of existing policy and requirements, we have to do it first come, first serve, meaning it depends on the time and date you apply, and that's the position you receive. We don't share position numbers, but the closer to 7 a.m. on October 25th, 2022, that you apply via Rent Cafe, the closer to the top of the list you'll be. So it's a big change. And this is for public housing units. It's not for a voucher. So these units become available a lot less often. And it's only for units in, of course, one of our properties in the public housing program. So I think it's going to be 1 and 2 bedroom units, and you actually apply for the wait list according to how many bedrooms that you qualify for. So more information will be coming out. Again, this is October 25th, but I did want to share that on here that we just announced it yesterday. So
nice. Well, technically, you kind of told us last Wednesday unofficially. You want to subscribe, so you don't miss all that information.
And I think the biggest thing that we have to remember is register on Rent Cafe. The hardest thing we found with our last waitlist opening was an email and a password, and then just remembering that information. So register for an account before Tuesday, October 25th. If you have any questions, please call us as soon as you can. Get on Rent Cafe, and then it will take a few minutes to fill out the applications on that day. So it's going to be super important to just get in Rent Cafe.
So, Katie, is there not going to be a campaign again to kind of work with the different, like the library and?
Oh yeah, we are going to. We just had to. We have exhausted our wait list, and so we are trying to open this. So it is still. We have a few, 2 weeks but it is a little bit more accelerated because Rent Cafe has been open this entire time, right, for registration and accounts. And that's the biggest reason we announced it really early on before. Also, because these are public housing units, specific bedroom sizes, and it's not housing choice, right? We offer you a specific unit. You don't have to take it if we offer it to you, but it's a lot more limited to what these it's not a voucher, actually. It's just what this subsidy is for. So
Gotcha. So that is awesome news there. And oh, here we go. I have to actually go to the website to pull up the
for the announcement, yeah. And so we will be contacting partners and agencies, but I do want to put a call to action out there. If anybody wants individual training or updates, or to even just flyers, or to us to reach out, we are trying to gather all that information now, again, in an accelerated process, but we do want to still do that same outreach. One of the other lessons we learned last time is to have many people on the phone, because the technical assistance is most important. So we are going to be more accessible during the waitlist opening to help with any login or account issues.
Nice, nice. And the last time that was you were doing it.
That was
remember
me.
you were on the conduit and phone calls were coming in, and you were multitasking the most. It's fantastic.
And because these units are really limited, it's only open for 8 hours that day. So 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day.
8 hours. Okay. All right. So, stay tuned. We will definitely announce it as it gets closer to time.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do something special on the conduit on that morning of, just so people have that reminder. Because yeah, that's gonna go fast, guys. So make sure that you take some time out now to get all your ducks in a row. Use your resources. Give a call, send an email, get your email set up, and be ready to go on that date. Right.
Yep. It's always a learning experience. And the nice thing is there's a lot of people on Rent Cafe now, and we can send email directly to those in Rent Cafe. So we'll be sending reminders through our Rent Cafe. And anybody who has an account in there will also get a reminder and notice when it opens.
So I have a question for you. So for the folks that have got their Rent Cafe uh, during the first event, right, the inaugural launch, and so you could sign up for everything that was available, right? Do they have to do it on that day, or are they already in the system?
The application doesn't open. You can't make any entries until that day.
Okay.
So they just have to log in. So I would just make sure you know your password and your email and have access, and practice logging into Rent Cafe so you'll be ready on that day.
All right, that's super important, right? So even if you've already signed up for Rent Cafe on that day, you need to log in. So make sure your login works, okay?
Yep.
And it's only open for 8 hours. You said 7 a.m. is the start?
Yep, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
All right. And it sounds like a radio talk show, and that's on
And
a
keep
Tuesday?
an eye on that web address. There'll be updates here shortly. Just trying to get all the coordination pinned down, and we're excited.
All right. I love it. Well, definitely thank you for that.
You're always the first to hear, Marwan.
I definitely appreciate it for sure. And the audience appreciates that. They share that information out. We've been getting feedback from the community saying, hey, I heard about this here and I heard about that there. Speaking at Summit Avenue Presbyterian, shout out to Pastor Susie. That's how I was invited to go and speak there. So she was listening to this show. So pretty fantastic.
Well, that's my big update, and I'm sure we'll keep talking about it.
I love it. All right, Miss Kirsten, what is good with the county?
Well, Marwan, we stay busy. Never a dull moment. So I wanted to share a couple of announcements / items with your audience. So on October 26th, so the day after the public housing waitlist opens, we are holding an open house at the Pacific Building, which is the future shelter in Port Orchard, from 5:30 to 7:30. And you can find information about that. I will put that in the private chat. It is at https://kcowa.us/sk housing. You can find information about it at that web address that I just provided to Marwan. So it's essentially going to be a drop-in open house. You don't have to come at a certain time. Anytime between 5:30 and 7:30, you'll be welcome to come. There'll be self-guided tours of the building. So you'll get a little map and you can kind of walk around and see where different things are going to be in the future shelter. It's also going to be kind of an information fair. So different organizations that have a kind of a piece of the project are going to have information tables there. So the Commissioner Greta will be there and we'll have a table and kind of explain the overview of the project. The architect, Rice Fergus Miller, will be there and they'll have some project boards to kind of show the design plans. The Department of Community Development will be there and they'll be able to answer questions about permitting. Kitsap Rescue Mission will be there to answer questions and share information about the program that'll be there, held in the shelter program in the building, et cetera. So a lot of different opportunities for people to better understand and explore what's happening in the building. And then there'll be a place where people can leave comments about the project on a written form. So that is coming up and we are very busy getting the building ready to be open to the public and also kind of lining up all of our guests to be there. It is open to anybody who would like to come. Again, October 26th, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Drop in, no formal program starting at any certain time. So come whenever you like during that time frame.
So Kirsten, does that mean we're getting closer to this building opening?
Well, we're inching closer all the time. This is kind of a preview of the project. We haven't gotten our permits all submitted yet, and we certainly haven't gotten a permit approval yet. We haven't done any really construction on the building, so there's still a lot to be done, but people can come and sort of do what I like to call putting on their possibility glasses and kind of look around and see what our vision is for what this building is going to become in the future. So we are continuously working we're kind of in the design development phase right now. I just got off the phone with the architect and their consulting organizations, and we're kind of talking through some of the design details to make sure that we're getting the building ready to have a sufficient number of showers and a way to serve food and a place to care for animals, because this shelter will allow people to bring their animals them into the shelter. So a lot of design details and trying to make sure that the building can accommodate all of these different aspects and a lot of different codes that we have to meet, energy code and American Disability Act code and various different county access codes. So there's a lot of work, and we're very, very grateful to be working with Rice Fergus Miller. They're doing doing the design work for the project.
That is awesome. This is the first I heard that there, pets were going to be allowed there. So great job. That is
that's a whole project in and of itself. It's been really great that now we're at the point where we're doing that design work. We've gotten some awesome participation. The Kitsap Humane Society has been incredibly helpful. The ASPCA has been very helpful. We have some area veterinarians who have been offering advice and assistance in the design part of this. So we really want to make sure it's going to work for the animals as well as the people. But it's kind of like designing a homeless shelter and an animal shelter in the same space, except for there's some other considerations because people are actually going to be living there. So yeah, very exciting. I'm thrilled that we're able to bring this part of the project to life because it's such an important way to offer shelter to people who have furry family members and they don't want to have to give those up or leave them out of the sheltering situation. So it's definitely something that's very needed. the Salvation Army currently accommodates people with animals and pets. And so that's awesome. And we definitely need more of that kind of shelter available.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think about how important that is, for someone to, for their mental health, right? If that's part of that stabilization. Uh, if they're going to transition from, temporary shelter housing to permanent housing, all these things have to be in place. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, animals really are family members. I mean, I have 2 cats myself, and they are, they are part of my family. I can't imagine having to be separated from them and make that sacrifice in order to be able to get housing assistance. And so we want to lower that barrier, make this shelter lower barrier so that people can um, go into the shelter if they have pets, if they have a partner, or children and family. So we're trying to make it be as inclusive and low barrier as possible for people to be able to use the shelter.
Well, thank you for that. And,
Yeah.
again, that website is here for you, kcowa.us/SK housing. And, if you go to the website, there's some frequently asked questions. So a lot of folks, whether you are supportive or critical, you can get some frequently asked questions and educate yourself on some of the issues or concerns centered around the building. So, where did the ideas come to purchase that building? How did the building purchase and program? How's it being paid for? Who will own and maintain the building? So, transparency is good and it's important, and a lot of it is here. So, just go to the website, click on frequently asked questions, and this may also form some new questions for you as you come and you visit the open house and you see the space. But ultimately, we're all working together to solve this issue. And yeah, I'm so glad that you.
And Marwan, we do keep updating the FAQ. I actually just the other day was adding some additional questions to it. We're still finalizing the answers, but when we get a lot of questions asked, new questions, we do try to update this FAQ. So it does evolve and change, and sometimes some information in there we have updated because there's better, newer, more recent information. So we're kind of trying to keep it up to date. I think the one that's on there is from August, but there will be an October version coming soon, and we will be handing out the latest and greatest version at the open house.
Well, and I love the fact that it's not only is it on there, but it's a living document. But in you sharing this information, you were saying, "Hey, come and do some visioning. See yourself in the space, and that might help to form some other comments and questions and maybe some ideas, right?"
Yeah,
So
and that's why people will be able to leave their written comment behind if maybe some new questions that we haven't been asked yet, or some new feedback that we haven't already gotten. We're definitely looking for that as well. This isn't the sort of formal public comment, public hearing part of the process. That will come later as part of the permitting process through the Department of Community Development process. So that's in addition to this kind of open house format.
awesome. Well, thank you for that.
I have a couple of other announcements if that's okay.
Of course,
Yeah.
this is your day.
Well, I don't want to take up all the time. If you want to deep dive, I'll try to make these quick. I did want to let everybody know that we do have now a web page for the HEART program, the Homeless Encampment Action,
Oh,
Response, and Transitions Team. So the website for that is very similar. It's https colon 2 KCO wa.us/heart.
all right.
So
So I'll
that
pull that.
webpage is just the beginning of a page, but we wanted to have a place where people could go and learn a little bit more about the program. There are some starting FAQs on there. There's information about how to report an encampment. There's a slide deck about the program. So we just wanted to be able to share with the community more broadly now that the program is a little bit more established and we have some information to share. We wanted to put that out there to the community so people can feel free to check out that webpage as well. And we will be updating it as we have more information There's there's some basic stuff on there.
I have to say, Kirsten, I have to say, ever since you mentioned compassion when you talk about the heart program, I love that point, because it really is like the heart program leading with compassion. I just wanted to reiterate, like, I think it really resonates, and I enjoy hearing about it in that perspective, because there needs to be compassion involved to even do this work. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for highlighting that. Yeah, that is our goal. And I think, you know, we get a lot of public feedback about homeless encampments and about crime. And it's a very complicated issue. You know, our piece of this puzzle is trying to connect people with resources and services in the community. We don't have any enforcement. We don't have the ability to trespass people. We don't have the ability to respond to crime that's happening that may or may not be perpetrated by people experiencing homelessness. But, you know, we work closely with law enforcement. We work closely with Public Works and the Solid Waste Division. We work closely with the Health Department, because all of us have pieces of trying to resolve some of the challenges created by people being forced to live outside. So yeah, we try to respond to all of the complaints as best we can. And Jared is constantly checking out reports of encampments. And we are in the process of closing an encampment right now. It's one of the larger encampments along the Clear Creek Trail in Silverdale. It was identified as one that is, you know, in a sensitive area, significant build up of structures. People are starting to pour cement footings and bring lumber in, and so that definitely needs to not be happening on that public land that's also in a very sensitive wetland area. So that has been receiving many outreach visits from the Heart Outreach Coordinator, from the Housing Solutions Center outreach team, from the REAL team, law enforcement, Public Works, as I said, Solid Waste is out there. So a lot of intense effort. We have people who are going into treatment. We have somebody who's got a place in Pendleton Place. We have other people who are going into shelter. So that's the current encampment that we are working on at this time. And then there's a number of others around that we're aware of, that we're monitoring, that we're sort of tracking, that we're reaching out to, offering services, and just kind of keeping on the radar for right now.
All right. So just got the website up there, and there is a presentation that I just clicked on, so people can take a look at that. I won't go through the whole thing here.
And we did have a presentation about the Heart program on this podcast, right, Marwan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I sort of remembered that we gave that presentation in a lot of different venues, and I was trying to remember if we'd done it here, and I think we did. Just a couple other quick updates. We are just kicking off the planning process for the Project Connect events. So these are big services fairs that have been done most of the last few years, kind of around the point in time count. So there's been a big services fair for anybody who needs assistance with housing and medical and often veterinary services and clothing and food and vaccines and all of that. It's usually the fourth week of January. And so we're just kicking off the planning process for that. And if there's anyone who's interested in being on the planning committee, we could definitely use some more help with that. It's a big project. For a while, we were just doing one in Bremerton. And then before the pandemic, we'd expanded to doing 3 events during that week, one in Port Orchard, one in Paulsbo or Kingston, and then one in Bremerton. So one of the conversations will be, do we have the capacity to do 3 this year, or should we just do 1? So anybody who's interested should definitely email me directly, and I can add you to the the list of people as we are just planning our very first kickoff meeting for that. And then also wanted to do a pitch. We're also gearing up for the Severe Weather Shelter Program, which is a really awesome program where the county partners with 4 different churches and nonprofit groups who are operating severe weather shelters. So when the weather meets certain criteria, like there's snow on the ground or we get down to freezing overnight, the severe weather shelters are activated and those groups scramble around and get volunteers, and then the shelters open just in a church or in a community center just for that overnight period. They are always desperate for volunteers. So if you have any interest in participating in volunteering, it's a really great way to help people who are in danger of having to be outside have a safe, warm place to be overnight when the weather really puts them in danger. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, you can find information on the county webpage. And I can put that. I don't think there's a direct severe weather shelter short URL, but you can go to the Housing and Homelessness webpage, and there's a link on there for severe weather shelter volunteers. So please, if you're interested, we'd love to have any church groups, any nonprofits, any service groups who want to volunteer, or just if you're an individual and you want to volunteer, that would be fantastic. But it really runs almost entirely on volunteers.
Yeah, and
so
we
if you
just
scroll down Marwan, there should be there should be a severe weather shelter. Sorry, go back up to the
Did I miss it?
I think it's under the groups and initiatives. It's the second one down.
There we go. Yeah. And this becomes more prominent during the time. So we just submitted our email back that we will be providing the transportation for this program again this year. And so we will be connected with 211. And so, yeah, that's awesome. So when you see folks that need to get to the severe weather shelter, G2 will be the transportation.
I also found the notification via text really easy to sign up for, as well as they're very timely. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That is good.
So yeah, if you're a person who wants to know when the severe weather shelters are open, if you're experiencing homelessness or you have family members who are, or you're just a person in the community who wants to know when they're open, you can sign up for those text notifications, and those go out in the morning as soon as we know that the shelters have been activated. So yeah, love to get people signed up to volunteer. We need a lot more volunteers to make this be possible. And then the last thing I wanted to just highlight is sort of some work that we're doing, at the county right now around monitoring. We are very, very deep in monitoring, and we're also being audited by the state. Marwan, I thought it might be interesting for maybe a future deep dive to talk about monitoring and auditing and kind of what that's all about and why we do it and what it means and the consequences of it and all of that. So maybe put that on your parking lot for a future deep dive, because I think it would be really interesting. And I know that, BHA gets monitored and, KCR gets monitored. So it's definitely, there's a lot of us who have different perspectives on this, people who are being monitored, people who are doing monitoring. So like we're monitored, and we're being monitored right now at the same time. So
who monitors the monitor?
Yeah, we also do our own monitoring for HUD for the multifamily program in one of our departments called CMS. So I'd be interested to bring that up because we don't talk about it much within the community. So I like that idea.
Yeah, and it's really about accountability. We are, as government, we are stewards of public funds, and those public funds are all of ours collectively. And so there's a lot of rules and regulations and guardrails put up to make sure that those funds are being spent the way that they were intended. And so I think it's great for the community to know how much effort is going into making sure that there is a lot of accountability for these funds going to their intended purpose.
It reminds me of something I've been sharing ever since Matt said it, I think maybe on a podcast. I can't remember, but our target audience, those who we want to get all of these resources and services, have the most forms to fill out, and nobody likes to fill out forms. And kind of connecting monitoring to why there are so many forms, even though we don't like to do it, and nobody likes to fill out forms. The reasons why that's in place.
That's a great way to connect it, Katie. Yeah, I think there could be some really interesting conversation and potentially questions from your audience too about why it is the way it is.
Yes.
And then Kirsten, before anyone can make an official complaint, they have to watch that video about monitoring.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you.
Hey, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I was finishing up the HSC advisory committee, but good to be here. Good to see Katie and Marwan and Kirsten.
I think I'm gonna leave it there with my announcements. So there's still some time for other discussion.
All right. Well, we definitely appreciate you, Kirsten, and I think the deep dive next month, if that works, we don't have a topic and we already have an idea. There's no sense in letting moss grow under our feet, as they say, right? So as we go to Matt and welcome him back from his vacation, a quick programming note for KCR. Executive Director Tony Ives will be on next week. Let me get that here. I just changed the calendar over. That will be Tuesday, the 18th at 10 a.m. And then after that, he is going to come on every other week, and he is going to do kind of like Tony's Corner. And it's going to be a way to connect with the community and also KCR staff as to what's going on in the world of the executive director and the direction of KCR. So tune in for that. That'll be a great show. And so you'll see the executive director, Tony Ives, come on twice a month onto the Conduit, starting this Tuesday coming up. All right, Matt, welcome back from vacation. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It was, yes, much needed. My staff were amazing and did not call or email or anything. So I actually had 2 full weeks completely off. So it was really great.
Oh, nice. So you're rested and restored, rejuvenated?
A little bit. I mean, our jobs are tough, but yeah, I walked in and the staff are like, "Is this what you look like, Millie? I mean, you look like a different person." So I think I was showing it a little bit on my face before I left. But nice. I feel a lot better. It was a really good time. But yeah, no, Tony I know is really excited. I think that would be a good opportunity to connect with a lot of the projects that he's working on and really his perspective coming in and he's done such a good job of connecting with so many people in the community and so I think this is a good outlet for him to kind of talk about a lot of what's happening at his level. I'm excited for that for sure. And I know staff that tune in and watch the first one too. So I think we have some staff too that will benefit from that, of kind of hearing that piece. So we're excited.
Absolutely. Matt, I'm going to ask you just.
Do you want me to jump into?
I do, but I want you to refresh your browser first. You're kind of pixelating a little bit, and we don't want to miss what you have to say, but you're coming in kind of rough there. And then
okay,
while Matt's doing that, Kirsten said, let's remember to remind people about the homeless worker stipend. Could you talk about that really quickly, Kirsten, while Matt is refreshing his computer there?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I cannot remember what we've already talked about in this particular format, but this is a really cool initiative by the Washington State Legislature to kind of offer a token of appreciation to all of the incredible work that's being done and has been done over the last few years, especially for folks who are frontline service providers in homeless organizations or homeless service programs. And they allocated a big chunk of money from the state budget last year to essentially provide these, what they're calling stipends. So if you're a person who works for an organization that has a homeless program and you yourself meet some income qualifications, and your organization receives certain kinds of funding from state and federal sources, you could be eligible for a $2,000 stipend, and you apply as a service worker directly through this website that Marwan has up on the screen. I think the questionnaire that you fill out is pretty straightforward, pretty basic. And then in another 6 months, if you're still with that organization, you could qualify for another $2,000. So pretty exciting. There's still some questions hanging out there and some things to get resolved. And not every single organization is eligible because of the way that the legislation was written specifically, but a lot of people are eligible, and we are trying to get the word out about this. We're trying to make sure that anybody in our county who's eligible is able to go in to this website and basically claim your $2,000. So very exciting.
Kirsten, you were saying there might be a way for organizations that aren't on this list here to be added on that list. Was that true?
Yeah. Again, there are some restrictions. So it's not every organization. It has to do with the funding that your organization has received in the past. But if you, as an organization, think that you should be on that list and you're not, you can reach out to, there's a button somewhere on there, like contact us. I can't remember where it is. You can reach out to them or at the questions button and say, hey, I think my organization should be eligible. And they will walk you through trying to figure out if it is or not, and then add you to the list.
All right. Thank you for announcing that.
Yeah.
And please continue to announce that, everyone, because I will forget to announce it.
And that's a good reminder, too, that it's a program from the Washington State Department of Commerce.
Yes.
And Bremerton Housing Authority, specifically, if you think of, we are listed, but under Mason County, we do support Mason County. We're in the process of asking questions. So we'll let you know if we do, like how the process. We don't want to announce it to staff to and also are ineligible. So we're asking questions to make sure we can announce it to staff because it's exciting. There is some eligibility pieces. So it's not run by the county, but everybody here wants to share it, and we will continue because it's exciting.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the team that was consulted about writing the legislation and trying to sort out some of those really difficult details. And, we did the best we could, with never having done a program like this before. I think it's really unheard of. I don't know of any other programs that are like this, where the state government is essentially offering some additional kind of compensation for people in a certain type of work. I think the hope is that this is just the first step in trying to improve the sort of overall pay scales for people who are doing this really, really important work with our very vulnerable populations. Many of those staff people are not as well compensated as I think a lot of us think they should be. And so, but it's a very complicated question because you're talking about many, hundreds, if not thousands of agencies across the state employing people doing all kinds of different work. I mean, it's not an easy way. There isn't an easy way to just say, yeah, let's pay everybody more, because there is still a limited amount of money. And so if you pay people more, there's fewer people who get to work, there's less services that can be provided. So it's a very complicated question, but I think there's a lot of effort right now going into sort of how do we make sure that we have a really good, stable and fairly compensated workforce doing this incredibly important work. And I know Matt has also been a big part of these conversations and working on this issue.
Yeah, it is a tough issue for sure, and something that I think we're headed in the right direction with foundational community supports. And it's interesting that that's running through the healthcare authority. That's a funding source for case management. And I don't want to go too far in the weeds, but I do think we're, as a kind of state, taking some steps. And we're really behind the 8 ball on this, but I do think we're starting to take some steps in the right direction, which is positive. Katie, we too, I've too have reached out to Live Stories to try to get some clarification, because we have some teams that I think Kirsten, I CC'd you on one too, of, you know, we have some teams that are tangentially related to homeless services, right? And kind of where do they fit in? And I haven't heard back yet, but I did dig in the FAQ, and Live Stories in the FAQ encourage folks kind of on the bubble, or if they thought their agency should be there, to just apply, because they are going to be adding and looking. So that was kind of our recommendation based off what they said, is just apply. I understand not wanting to get staff's hopes up, and we caveat that with our staff of like, this is not guaranteed, but since Live Story recommended apply, just to make sure, you know, because we have a lot of staff, and just making sure they have enough time to, you know, go through the application process.
Yeah, our HR department is taking the lead on it. I know, and hopefully maybe we'll get a presenter in here.
Hey.
You know? So that would be kind of exciting. So we just want to know what resources are out there to help communicate it to staff and encourage the application process, because I do think it's taxed. It's a taxed.
It is. It does count as income, so that is a consideration for some people. And I believe I asked this question earlier. I believe you can request a lower amount than $2,000 if you are concerned about that sort of affecting potential benefits or something like that. Like if you don't want to be bumped up over a certain income threshold, because that would be detrimental, I think you can request a smaller amount or something like that. Because I raise those questions and issues as well. I think it's really important everybody understands that this is taxable income. So if you get $2,000 and you happen to then, you know, to be in an income bracket where you have to pay taxes, or you have to pay a higher tax rate, you should just be really aware of that.
Absolutely. So that website is there.
Marwan, if you're interested, we may be able to get somebody to come and do a presentation on this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I vaguely vaguely remember somebody offering to do that. So let me
that would be fantastic.
see if I can follow up on that. And I can't promise, but I think somebody reached out to me and asked if I wanted a presentation.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Kirsten, especially if it's Scott. Funny that we've worked with Live Stories on another pro, so we actually know some of the folks. And I was able to talk with one of the frontline workers on the phone to try to get these questions answered, and she didn't fully, so she kind of referred to Scott, and I still haven't heard. And I know they're slammed right now with all the programs they're running, but it'd be really great if it could be a manager, not just you know, one of their kind of stuff. If we could get a manager in, I think that would be wonderful, because then we could ask directly a lot of these questions. Would be great.
Well, and then it could be a recorded asset that, you know, BHA, KCR, the county, other agencies can just, you know, share with their staff, and they can watch it as many times as they want and ask questions in real time if they're able to watch it live. And yeah, I think that'll be very helpful for folks. So how about your updates there, Matt? What's new? We haven't seen you in a while. We almost forgot what you look like.
So the community, there's can you hear me lagging?
Uh-oh. Yeah, you are a little laggy. Yep, you are laggy. So you're hitting buttons.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you, but you're pixelated. I think you've got a bad Wi-Fi signal for some reason. Yeah, you're in the yellow. Everybody else has strong green signals.
I'm actually wired in. I'm not even. I'm actually wired in. I'm not even on Wi-Fi right now. I'm actually hardlined in, so that's a little.
Well, right now you're green, so you're good to go right now.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know if I'm still struggling. So sorry, I don't know what's going on with our internet, but essentially we've got so much. So we've got a few things I'll talk about. So the first, the community needs, it's still live, but we're in our next phase where we're actually doing focus groups. So I know Tony and some of our admin team is going to be setting up focus groups at different community agencies. I know they're going to work with Kayak and some other folks as well, to especially try to get folks, you know, that might have trouble filling out the survey, and to kind of talk more in depth. The link is still live, can still be filled out, but I think Antonio will probably talk more about that as well, Marwan, in your meeting with him. We are finally moving forward with getting some staff and case managers, and so we've got 2 more folks that just jumped on, and we've got enough where HSC is opening up some rapid rehousing slots, and so that's exciting. That's the first slots we've opened up in a little while because of staffing slots, so or staffing availability. So we're really, really happy, and we're going to continue. So we're really we're still hiring more. We want to probably hire another 2, at least, maybe 3 case managers to kind of get us through this year and into the next year as we just continue to expand. So that is really, really positive. And so thank you, Marwan. You've been a big supporter of helping us get the word out to folks. So we really, really appreciate that. And again, all our programs go through the Housing Solutions Center at 1201 Park Avenue, or you can call 360-473-2035. That's the Housing Solutions Center. So everything comes through them, all our programs, whether that's rapid rehousing or, you know, any of our emergency motel programs or our transitional housing. It's all referred through Housing Solutions Center. So that's kind of the housing update. The next we'll get into KEPA. So that's our Kitsap Eviction Prevention Assistance. That's a lot of the COVID relief money that came in to keep people housed, those that had a difficult time, got laid off or had economic hardship or other various issues that came up during the pandemic. And so, you know, as we talked on this podcast before, we closed the wait list as we were getting numbers, as we thought we might be getting close to spending that down. That's not the case, which is good. So we're going to be kind of strategizing with the county, with our team, of kind of what that next step is, and we'll announce that when we figure that out. But the good news is that we definitely are not yet completely spent. We're getting there. And we are now at 108 on the wait list. So last podcast it was 372, I think we talked about, and
wow.
And now we're down to 108. So and we think some of we're still sorting through some. We think there's probably some of them that are duplicates or misfiles. So we think it's actually a little bit less than that, but we're still doing some work. But if we're not there, we're very close to being double digits out of the triple digits. And so that's going to take us a few more weeks, but we think we're going to get that completely down. And then we'll announce, and you'll be one of the first to know, Marwan. We'll talk on here about kind of what we're doing, and we'll do a lot of PR about kind of the next step. And that's going to take us probably into spring after we're completely done with the wait list. So the team's been doing a fantastic job. And we're now kind of a little consistent. You know, we're still reducing staff a little bit as the program's somewhat winding down, but we're kind of right in that new band. Last August it was 184, and we're 175 for September. So that's good. We're happy with kind of that, with some of our kind of reduced capacity. Just over $1 million that we sent up to our fiscal team. And we still, even with the waitlist closed, so we still received 86 pre-apps in September from the buy and fours and from our legal partners. So the buy and for agencies, just a refresher, those are agencies that are for a certain group, led by that group. So led by folks of color, for folks of color, and they've reached out to populations that have been disproportionately affected or not had access to funds in the past. And then we have our legal partners that are working with folks that are actively being evicted in the legal system. So that's Kitsap Legal Services and Northwest Justice Project and Dispute Resolution Center. And so the buy-in fours sent us 67 in September, which is interesting because those numbers really went up. In August, they only sent 29. So a lot of the buy and fours have really sent a lot more. And our legal went down to 44, back from about 63, which has been pretty static for a while. So that's kind of interesting to note of those applications that were processed.
Matt, anything you can extrapolate from that data?
It is interesting. I really want to, before making too many conclusions, I want to talk with Joanna from Kitsap Legal Services. They're handling most of the evictions, and I don't want to say that it's slowing down. The one good thing that we have noticed is that a lot of the folks that are going through have already gotten assistance once, twice. Now, it's not necessarily good from their perspective because they're not stabilizing, but what it means is our efforts are doing really well. And a lot of the folks, it's not like folks that are getting evicted that haven't had opportunity to get funds. So there are still folks that are first time that are on the wait list, right, that aren't being evicted, that their landlords are holding on. So that's good, they're holding on. But the folks that are actually being evicted have at least gotten one or two chances. So that's what we keep seeing that pattern repeated. So it's, and again, this is where we're running into a lot of these folks really need ongoing rental. Where we be able to, BHA, we've talked about doing there, how can we add some additional support? But I don't know if the evictions are going down. What I hope, I mean, I think all of us pray that might be maybe we're seeing some of the, people stabilizing, not as many people going through. But again, it's just 1 month. I think we'll really see when the program, when we completely wind down, that's what those numbers are. So I think there's some good and some unknown about what to take. But the positive is really the work that we've done at our community with the buy and forth with the legal partners to make sure that this is spread out equitably and really reaches many people as it can. And not every community had all the partners engaged. I know, Kirsten talks to different partners, and some of the community did not have that partnership set up with the Dispute Resolution Center, or we really had a pretty tight system. We had a closed system, so it would be really hard to get evicted and not connect with one of the buy and for, a legal partner, or us, right? Just because we had the judges on board, we had the courts, we had the Dispute Resolution Center, which handles all non-payment of rent. That's part of the new law, the eviction pilot program. We had Northwest Justice Project, which handles a lot of the clear calls, and then Kitsap Legal Services has the contract for low-income folks that they have a right to counsel now when they're being evicted, and then other buy and fors, Surviving Change, Hope 360, Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, Gather Together, Grow Together, Foundation for Homeless Poverty Management, and Mount Zion, reaching out proactively. BHA was a distributing partner. Housing Kitsap was a distributing partner. Coffee Oasis is a distributing partner. So all of those folks, I think the system was really robust, and I think that speaks volumes that about 80% of the folks that are being evicted have gotten one round of assistance. And so I think that's the big positive that I take away. The unknowns are what's actually happening. Is there going to be a tail end of folks that come in at the end? And that's what we're going to be working on with the same funds, of how do we target this as effectively as possible to prevent evictions, right? That's our big goal, is how do we just prevent people from getting evicted? So I think we've got some work to do. We've got some work to do there.
Matt, let me ask you a question. As horrible as COVID is, and this is open for Katie and Kirsten too. One of the bright sides is the synergy of that was created with the relationship building with the buy and fors in the county and BHA and KCR. So is there some intentionality around keeping those relationships going in some form or fashion?
Absolutely. I'll kind of take first stab, and Kirsten and Katie can follow. But for us, there is going to be a permanent rent assistance program that is going to have some buy and for connections. So it's going to be way smaller. We're probably talking multiple orders of magnitude less than what it is now, but it will be something. And we definitely plan to continue to work with buy on fours, and I'm sure we'll be kind of talking, in the future of what that looks like. And then I think also leveraging the buy and for relationships for our housing services. So Foundation for Homeless Poverty Management, they're really moving into a lot of homeless services, and we've been able to partner with them, especially when we've had some staffing challenges, but we've had money available. They've been able to say, all right, we've got some staff capacity. We've been able to fund clients, and they've been able to case manage, and we want to continue that. And Marwan, you and I working together with filming training for the community, and we want to keep doing work, like that. And I think same with Mount Zion and Kayak, right? Kayak we work really closely with. So these partnerships we want to continue to kind of integrate and leverage, and maybe help capacity build. I know Tony got some specific money to help capacity build, and has used that, I think, for grant writing classes for leaders of color in Kitsap counties, and invited a lot of folks. And so there's been other ways that we really want to help different organizations build capacity, and then work with us, and then really connect and go forward. And I know we can't completely help capacity build, everyone, and there's obviously limitations of what we can do, but we definitely want to have that as much as we can help and bring people in, and then we don't ever want to be hoarding resources. We want to continue to work with folks, because there's way more work to do than ever. We don't have any competition mindset, because there's way more work to do than even everyone right now working together. So it's all of us are needed at the table. And so we really, really enjoy kind of building this relationship. And we've seen a lot of fruits, especially with the Foundation for Homeless Poverty Management, and Diana and Drayton over there. They're doing such a good job, and case managing, and then us being able to case manage other folks. Because what that does is, we're then able to fund, but then we don't have to spend as much time, because they're taking the lead on case management. That allows us, because there's precious case management hours, right? There's just so few of them. And so when we can use that for other folks that aren't connected, we see that as a big, big positive. So that's one example of how we want to go forward. And I know Tony's doing a lot of work too, of how we can kind of capacity build, and help different organizations. And I think even from, I know Tony's talked a little bit about, but Tony's helped do some grant applications for, I think it was Up From Slavery. I think there's a few other smaller organizations that there's been some support in other ways. So I know that's something we're definitely really proud of, and I'll let Tony talk more about that, since you can ask him about some of the stuff that he's done there. So it's really, really good work, and he has the details on that, since he's been really taking the lead. But yeah, so I think we definitely want to keep that going, and I hope the other agencies see that. I hope the buy and force see that as positives as well, because we definitely want it to be mutually beneficial for sure. But yeah, Kirsten and Katie, I'm curious your takes on that.
I think you covered it pretty well, Matt. I always like to say Kitsap County's superpower is our partnerships, and that's why we are often ahead of other counties in responding to things, and quickly able to leverage money, put together programs. We just keep adding on to the partner group, and that that saying, the sum is, what is it? The sum is greater than the parts, right? Mm-hmm. So we do more when we work together. That's our superpower. So our intent and desire is to continue to build that coalition of organizations and people working together on this very challenging time and issue that we are facing in our county, and helping people who are struggling with housing.
Katie?
Of course, I agree. And I think the conduit is always a good example of that. Talk early and often, talk as much as possible, because as Kirsten, you mentioned earlier, I don't know if I said this, but it's okay if you said it. Like, it's on our minds, and we need to say it more because somebody might have missed it or didn't hear it because it was in between another conversation. The things that are important to us, we have to let people know they're important to us. So we have to talk about them a lot. And I know Matt wasn't here when I announced the public housing wait list for Bremerton Housing Authority is opening on October 25th for only 8 hours, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And getting connected with those leaders of those organizations is going to be key for us to help those who need to get on this list. So I might be reaching out to you later to just get contact information so I can individually reach out and make sure people are aware, because this time we aren't opening it, we're not giving a whole month notice. It's 2 weeks, and it's a really rare waitlist, meaning you don't get spots open a lot. So we're just kind of creating the waitlist because we've exhausted it, and we just are trying to get people on it. But again, waitlists don't mean that you get housing right away. It's just that you get on the waitlist, and it's important to get on it. So you'll have that opportunity to get to the top. So, and it's first come, first serve, Matt. So that's going to be the difficult part of this one.
And let me answer the question as one of those buying fours. So I think it's important that the big entities, as they stretch their hand out, other organizations and individuals also have to stretch their hand out. That's how the best bridges are made, right? When both sides are there. And so when I think of our footprint in this county pre-COVID, we weren't doing the emergency shelter transportation. We weren't providing food to the Q&I centers during COVID. We weren't hosting a podcast, right? So we weren't doing eviction assistance. So now we have all of these different partnerships with the county and BHA and KCR and all the buy and fours providing transportation for COVID and vaccines through long-term aging and care. So if you are elderly or disabled, you can get free transportation for that. So you can give us a call and we'll take care of that for you. But so it is important for both sides to create that relationship, because that makes a very strong relationship. So I just wanted to, give a horn for all the work there. Yeah, so that's how that looks. And I just wanted you guys to answer that question, because the community doesn't often see the change, because you're living it day by day and then it becomes the new normal. But things are different and a lot better in a lot of ways between the agencies and organizations. So thank you to you all and to all of your agencies. Go ahead there, Matt.
Well, thank you, Marwan. I really appreciate that. And Katie, what was the date again?
It's October 25th, and right now there is an announcement on our website, but more information to come. We're finalizing outreach planning tomorrow.
Okay.
Again, one of the biggest things we learned is more people on the phones, because it is through Rent Cafe, and it is first come, first serve. So again, reminder to everyone, register. Rent Cafe is open. Get an account. Make sure you can log in. It's really important, because the closer you apply for the wait list at 7 a.m. on October 25th, the closer to the top of the wait list you'll be. We don't give position numbers out, but first come, first serve is all based on date and time of submission.
7 a.m. to what?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Wow. Okay.
And we wanted to open it early instead of open it at normal time and later, because anybody who has normal working hours or before school has more opportunity, because if you got on after work, you won't be closer to 7 a.m. or the opening time. So it's a small way. It's just, there's limited availability of units, because it is just our public housing units owned by Bremerton Housing Authority. So yeah. It's a limited supply, but we are trying to get the word out so everybody has the opportunity to apply.
Absolutely. And I love when agencies get information firsthand,
we always do, right, Matt? Like, that's how this works.
Yeah, that's great. Matt, do you have other updates for us?
I think that's, I know we're running out of time. So, I mean, there's always 100 things happening, but I think that's a good that's a good place to end. And yeah, it's really good to be back. It's glad to see you all, and yeah, it's a good community. So I really echo what you're saying, Marwan. Is I love the podcast. I love what the work that we're doing, and really proud to be part of it. So yeah, just good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this was a great show. And now that you are back, you'll be able to share more information. Well, not because next week is the Kitsap Housing and Homelessness Coalition meeting at 2 p.m. So join us for that. And then the week after is our community breakfast, which is actually a workshop. So that will be a big one, and that's going to be 10 to 2. We're going to kick it up a notch. It's not going to just be pancakes and sausage. We're going to probably roll out some of our catering options that G2 does, and we're going to talk about, MLK specifically, and have conversations centered around that. And then again, as an update, there's an open house out in Port Orchard, so please don't miss that. Please share the podcast. There's a lot of great information that Kirsten shared today, and she comes on every second Wednesday of the month. So mark your calendars because she always comes with a lot of great information. And she is tremendously busy, so we always appreciate when she stops by to visit us. And hopefully is there 5 Wednesdays this month? I don't know if there is or not. If there is, well, we'll be here on Wednesdays. That's just what it is. There is 5 Wednesdays. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, there's only 4. So we got a full one. But anyway, Kirsten, you saying goodbye to us?
No, I was
No,
saying
she's
there's
saying
4
there's 4.
Wednesdays.
Oh, there's 4 Wednesdays. It's kind of looking like goodbye. So yeah, we went a little bit long, but just wanted to thank everyone for coming, and we will see you at 2 p.m. next week. And then after, we'll have our little quick synopsis or last minute updates, especially as things are coming to an end, like the CNA, and then the opening of the setting up on the wait list. So we'll continue to remind you as those things go forward. So anyone have a final thought?
Just be grateful. As I started out the podcast saying, I was feeling grateful for being healthy because so many people around us are getting sick. So I just encourage everybody to be grateful for every day that we get to, be in this world and be healthy and get to help our fellow human beings.
That's it. So for Gibson Jewel at Kitsap County, Matt Garrett at KCR, and Katie Sharp at Bremerton Housing Authority, I am Marwan Cameron. I should say gather together, grow together, and the conduit. We will see you next time, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back in 45 minutes, actually 5:30 for City Council. Hope you to see you then. Bye-bye.